In New York, a new musical that debuted on Broadway this week is originally based on an Israeli film. And Tal, you have the story for us. What's this all about?
Well, yes, it's called The Band's Visit. It's a film that was very successful in Israel, but not only in Israel. It has won multiple international awards, including 3 prizes at the Cannes Film Festival in France. And this play, as you can imagine, it features the Israeli-Egyptian dynamic, but in a very interesting way. It's not a realistic way, unfortunately, I think we should say. The plot tells the story of this Egyptian police band that is being scheduled to perform in Israel at some opening of an Arab culture center. But there was some mistake at the border, and they were sent to the desert. Yes, it's yeah. I think let's just take a look how it plays out in this stage play.
Great.
Let me tell you about Petah Tikva. Such a city, everybody loves it. Lots of fun, lots of art, lots of culture. That's Petah Tikva with a P. Where you are, this is not Petah Tikva.
A snafu blamed on one letter leaves one Egyptian police band stuck in the middle of the Israeli desert. That sets off a chain of events in the band's visit that leaves these travelers and their newfound hosts intertwined in the most unexpected of ways.
It's really remote. The people don't move very quickly. They don't talk very quickly. They don't have a lot of verve. This is life. This is how it is. And that's what really struck me about the movie.
As the band prepares to stay the night in the small town, 2 characters find themselves surprisingly attracted to each other. Dina, the Israeli cafe owner, played by screen and stage veteran Katrina Lenk, and Tawfiq, the Egyptian band's leader, played by 3-time Emmy Award winner Tony Shalhoub, who is best known for his role in the series Monk.
Our focus is primarily, on the material, on the relationships and these characters, what the common ground is between the 2 cultures, how these characters relate to each other, how they enhance each other's lives in the very brief time they have together.
Directed by David Kromer, The Band's Visit is a musical based on an original script by Israeli filmmaker Eran Kolirin. This Broadway performance comes 10 years after the hit movie of the same name. The producers had hoped their movie would be an Oscar contender for the best foreign film, but it was disqualified for having too much of the English language. The feature starred Ronit Elkabetz, a beloved Israeli actress who passed away just last year from cancer.
I'm inspired by how sensual she is in the movie. And in general, she's a very physically grounded actor. And also her sense of humor, and she's surprising, just constantly surprising you. So I hope to bring some things of her to this.
A play featuring the Israeli-Egyptian dynamic may have the assumption of being politically charged, but not here. Instead, the characters are brought together by the common elements that bond us all.
It's not done in a rosy way. I think it's done in a realistic way where people have their suspicions of the other, and those walls are slowly broken down. Everyone has girlfriend problems and wife problems, and everyone loves music, and it's beautiful and human how everything is brought together.
Unlike Katrina Lenk, The Band's Visit is a Broadway debut for some of her fellow actors. But what mostly excites them about this production is not necessarily the big career opportunity.
I grew up without any expectation of being able to represent my culture, to sort of enter the business and then have this opportunity to represent myself transcends the professional moment, which of course is exciting. I'm making my Broadway debut, but the cultural moment and the personal moment of sort of me being able to sort of accept myself, celebrate myself.
The Band's Visit is hoping to change the narrative when it comes to diversity on the stage, as the casting reflects the diverse ethnicities that appear in the musical, including American actors of Israeli, Lebanese, and Egyptian descent.
I think that having actual Israelis and Arab actors of Arabic descent in the show brings an authenticity that has not been seen in a Broadway musical or really much in theater. These are not stories. A modern Middle Eastern story is never told on Broadway.
The Band's Visit runs at the Ethel Barrymore Theater here in New York. It comes on the heels of another Broadway musical featuring the Israeli-Arab conflict, Oslo. a play about the signing of the peace accords of the same name between Israel and the Palestinian Authority in the early 1990s.
Tal, we know that there is peace between Israel and Egypt, but can something like The Band's Visit, can that play in Egypt?
It is peace, but I would call it a cold peace. It's a great question. It was very controversial in Egypt. In fact, the movie was banned to perform in Egypt, but there was one controversial screening, in fact, in Cairo at the Israeli embassy, and that was in 2008. Now, I think that we can also say that with President Sisi in power in Egypt, right now, David, we're experiencing probably the best relationship between Israel and Egypt, but it is with the Egyptian government. It is not with the Egyptian people. There are no cultural exchanges as the ones we just saw here on Broadway stage. And that's also pretty sad because it can happen in a movie, it can happen here in New York, but it doesn't happen in reality, unfortunately.
Speaking of New York, you're now an official New Yorker because of the amount of time that you've spent here. You're living here. You've gone to some Broadway shows. It's unusual to see a Broadway show that is not essentially an American story, but is really something, say, from the Middle East.
Or a fairy tale.
Or a fairy tale, and have it get such great reviews and so well acclaimed.
And not only American, American actors performing on stage, that's pretty awesome. Oslo, who would have thought that the story of the Oslo Accords will turn into a stage play and actually bring in American audience to theater? And now The Band's Visit. I mean, it's a great movie, but I don't know if I would have imagined that it will become a stage play here on Broadway.
And you saw the movie.
I watched the movie, yeah, and also I want to add that I think, in some respect, that Gal Gadot and her accent as Wonder Woman changed things for Israeli actors here in the local scene.
That's a great point. All right, Tal, terrific piece. Thank you. We appreciate it.